What's up, guys? It's KB. Make sure you subscribe to the Underground Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel. Click the bell icon down below so you don't miss a single video from us. And thanks for tuning in to another video from Underground Sports Philadelphia. Now let's get into it.
Philadelphia, baby, you're going to love it. Best sports fans in the world. Actually, the worst, but that's what makes them the best.
All right. I think we are all set. What is going on, everybody? Welcome into another Red October/November edition of Underground Sports Philadelphia. It's episode number 478. KB and Matt coming at you from Underground Studios, getting you all set for World Series action. Game number 4 on deck. Phillies up 2-1 over the Houston Astros. We're going to dive into everything from Game 3. Going to preview tonight. We're going to talk about Eagles and Texans and the Philadelphia Union going to the MLS Cup. And, of course, we're going to talk a little Survivor as well because everything is just busy on Wednesdays here at Underground Sports Philadelphia. But before we get started, make sure you guys are following us on the socials. Our 3K giveaway on Twitter is live at Underground PHI, so make sure you go enter our giveaway. The winner will be announced as soon as the World Series comes to a close. We're giving away a Joel Embiid number 24 Kobe jersey, a autographed Dolph Schayes photo, and your choice of Duwani art. Whatever you want, you're going to get it if you are our winner. So make sure you go check out the tweet, enter the giveaway. Super easy. Shout out to the homie Josh Reynolds for partnering up with us for the giveaway. And we're on the road to 4K now on Twitter before Elon takes it away. Make sure you follow us there. Follow Matt on Twitter at Matt Castorina. Follow me at KBIZZL311. Subscribe to the podcast feed, Apple Podcast, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. We are there. We're talking all things Philly sports, the best place for it. So subscribe to the podcast feed and subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can now type in youtube.com/at Underground Sports Philadelphia, and our channel will come up. We're on that road to 1K subscriber challenge. We're at 284 subscribers now, so subscribe to the YouTube channel. Smash that like button, ring the bell icon, comment down below your thoughts on how the World Series is going so far, and be a friend, tell a friend, share the channel with your people. And big thank you to our sponsors who make this show happen: Main Auto LLC, Security 21 Security Systems, Paul J. Gillespie Incorporated, and the Dental Wellness Center of Vineland. And, of course, our merch partners at PHI Apparel Company. And, of course, Underground Sports Philadelphia is brought to you by PHI Apparel Company, who provide unique designs and high-quality clothing for the great fans of Philadelphia. With their original designs for all, there's no doubt you'll stand out in the crowd. You guys can use our promo code UNDERGROUND for 10% off any apparel when you shop online at phiapparel.co. That's phiapparel.co, promo code UNDERGROUND for 10% off your order. What the hell's going on, Matt?
Living the dream.
We are living the dream. The Phillies are up 2-1 in the 2022 World Series, and it still somehow just doesn't feel real. The boys went mashing last night, tie a World Series record for most home runs in a World Series game, set a new World Series record for most home runs off a single pitcher.
Thanks, Dusty. That was
thanks, Dusty. Thank you, Lance. But the Phils are up 2-1, feeling good, and because of the rain delay, helps set up the Phillies pitching rotation now. That Aaron Nola will start Game 4, and it's not a World Series Game 3 without a rain delay or rain, cancellation, if you will.
Yeah, kind of a lucky break for the Phillies because it would have been Monday. It would have been a Syndergaard start, and we love Noah, but I think it's safe to say he would likely have been. I mean, it's up in the air, too, if we even see him start a game in this World Series now, but he would have been probably the worst starter thrown out there, and that would have been maybe a little bit of trouble, especially against this Astros lineup, who can get hot, can get dangerous. And, they've gotten on the Phillies early, in games really, except for last night, obviously, but the first 2 games, like the first 3 innings have actually been where the Phillies have struggled pitching and defensively. And we got Nola going tonight. You hope that that's a little better, but his last 2 starts have not been amazing. I will say the game 1 start, though, was, I would say, just as much like fielding and defensive error, like as much as him like not being amazing and at his very best. So that could be a little frustrating, but it's a good break for the Phillies. It really is. And I mean, especially last night, you get the win with Ranger pitching. He looked fantastic.
He's been so good.
He's had a monster playoffs in terms of just like stepping into the big moments. He comes out game 1 too and pitches some key relief there. And yeah, his confidence is definitely soaring. You have to imagine. And the big thing is too is that the bullpen for the Phillies has gotten really significant rest now, which is big. Because obviously you hope you don't need them as much tonight, but it's not inconceivable that tomorrow night, which again could be potentially a World Series clinching night, you have like your best arms available. And we've seen that Rob Thompson is not afraid to be aggressive and not afraid. Like, listen, like you literally have at maximum 4 games left in your season. That there's no point in anymore now. Like, you're not saving and conserving. And I think if there's one criticism that I think people could levy at Dusty Baker and the Astros is that they've been managing so far like it's a July series and not the last series for the entire prize. I don't know how what's his name stays in the game last night, because I think if I'm a Astros fan in that situation, I'm fuming and kind of ripping my hair out. But yeah, I think that's where the Phillies are at. I think that the rain postponement helps them out. It gives them that extra day of rest, allows them to reset, and allows them too to get just I don't know, like I think just kind of like refocused, And last night too, you have the return to the home games, and that was only the 5th Phillies home game in the last 35 days. Because this team has just been like road warriors, road dogging it. And so I found this too. The Phils are obviously now 6-0 at home in these playoffs. They've out-homered their opponents 17-6 in those 6 games. No team had ever even hit more than 15 homers in a span of 6 home games in a single postseason before the 2022 Phillies. And they've outscored their opponents 42-15 in their 6 postseason home games. So there's like no joke. Like, people talk all the time about the home field advantage stuff across every sport. This is truly like it has been a fortress for the Phillies, which has been. I mean, we've seen it. Those first 2 games in Houston were very tight, and not that last night is what it's going to be, but it has followed the same path that the previous playoff series did, where tight games, Phillies split on the road and come home and have like really electric, especially offensive performance.
And you do it in front of some of the most iconic legends in all of Philadelphia sports. Your first pitch throwers last night were all 4 former champions.
Feels like cheating, because we were trying to guess like who might throw out the first pitch. Like, how about just all of them at once?
So you get Mike Schmidt throwing to Cole Hamels. You get Jason Worth throwing to Bernie Parent. You get Brandon Graham throwing to Ryan Howard. And then you get Dr. J throwing to Shane Victorino.
Like, all right, who's following that up tonight? I mean,
well,
if it's not Boys to Men to like Cassidy, I
have that information for you, Matt. Tonight's first pitch throwers are Jimmy Rollins and the man Chase Utley.
Okay, well, that's good energy.
Who made a surprise appearance last night? Nobody knew he was there, but apparently the Phillies flew him in on a private jet.
How could you miss him with that hair?
Very true.
I did not realize he's not even Silver Fox anymore. He is Arctic Fox.
Yes.
Like, I did not realize, and he wears it well. But I like had to do a double take. I was like, wow, he is fully in on it. So good for him. But it was cool. It's cool too, like seeing kind of the revival of like that 08. Not that we've ever let it go. Like we have clung hard to that championship, but it is cool like just kind of seeing them now. I mean, forget too, it's been 14 years. These guys have lived an entire career now separated from that, and it's just kind of cool seeing them all back together. And I mean, this run feels in a similar kind of way. Like it feels like there's this magical sense about it, and there's been a lot of great moments. And I mean, it's bizarre to say, but I mean the Phillies have put themselves in already a strong position in MLB postseason 7-game series. The team that wins in a 1-1 split, wins Game 3, wins the series 69% of the time.
Nice.
But I mean that and it feels that way too. Like it feels like the way I always look at like playoffs and stuff and these types of situations is like I was trying to like just imagine being on the other side. If we were, say, the Astros in the situation, you're down 2-1, you lose a game, pretty rough that game 1. Like that's a pretty bad collapse. Rebound pretty well in Game 2, get just absolutely torched in Game 3, and now you have this situation where like this team that you feel you're better than if you're the Astros, right? Like, and I don't know that they'd be wrong in at least having that sense about themselves. Like you're gonna have to dig yourself out of all. You have to win at least one of these games in Philly, and they could do that. I mean, it's certainly not impossible, but just feeling like if you were down that 2-1 is so different. And it's such a more confident position to find yourself in, and it's no surprise that those teams typically go on to win the series at such a high rate.
And what an eclectic group it was in the box last night. Photo coming from Mickey Morandini's Instagram. We had Mickey Morandini, Shane Victorino, Jimmy Rollins, Chase Utley, Ryan Howard, Jason Worth. Then we were joined by Cole Hamels, Carlos Ruiz, J.C. Romero, Brad Lidge, Ben Revere, and Dom Brown.
Yeah. Which is quite the crew.
The fact that Ben Revere and Dom Brown got the invite, and J.C. Romero at that, even though he was on that 08 team, those three getting the invite to that box is pretty cool.
It's a little silly dragon meme, but we love it,
and I don't know if I mentioned Raul Ibanez also in the box.
Yeah, Raul Ibanez,
the same that he did in 09.
Framed perfectly, right? That's again just been the cool part of all this too, is just seeing some of the legends back. And I think too, I mean, you're seeing it in the crowd and the ticket prices. Like
a lot of the current players too. Like last night, Fletcher Cox was there. Yeah. Hassan Reddick, who's a Camden, New Jersey native, was in attendance.
You need to mention Micah Parsons.
Parsons, big Phils fan. And I don't know if you saw C.J. Gardner-Johnson's quote tweet of Micah Parsons says, he want to be an Eagle so bad for real.
Me too. That'd be cool.
Rob McElhaney in attendance last night as well. Weird that Meek showed up on Monday, wasn't there last night. Maybe he's there tonight.
Scheduling conflict.
Doing
perhaps.
A sound check, which was pretty interesting. But the Stars were out. Carly Lloyd was in attendance last night as well.
Kate Upton. Happy to be on the fan cam. It's nice to know celebrities are just like us. Yeah. That's good to know.
So the Stars were out in full force. Tyrese Maxey and Tobias Harris were at the game last night as well. They never lose the Maxey game. Shout out to Uncle Zoe.
Yeah.
They never lose the Maxey game, and the Phillies are now in the driver's seat, up 2-1 with their ace on the mound, and having not used any of their key bullpen pieces last night either. I think that is one of the bigger takeaways from last night's game too. You didn't have to use Sir Anthony. You didn't have to use Jose Alvarado. You didn't have to use David Robertson. You didn't have to use Zach Eflin.
Yeah, that's, I think, you've now made this a 5-game series, and you still have your 2 best pitchers available to be used and a rested, available bullpen. That's just huge. And I mean, again, you can't discount that. Like it's a huge advantage to have. And again, the strength of this Astros team is their depth, is their pitching, and you were able to break through that and get a great result last night. And it can't be understated what just a massive win that is, because no matter what, I mean, the Phillies have a great shot at this, which is crazy to say, but it's not inconceivable either that, they can do what they've done the last 2 series, which is, just sweep at home. Like that's not impossible. It's going to be tough. I mean, the Astros are not an easy team to get down to, but we've seen too that like the Phillies have definitely struggled early on in games when they've struggled. It's been in those first 2 or 3 innings is where those runs have come, but they've like in those games figured it out and it had, 5-6 scoreless innings against the Astros. It's just, you really can't give any team, a 4-5 nothing lead because that's always going to be hard. But this Astros team, especially, it's always going to be challenging with the defense they play and the good pitching that they're able to call on. And, that's the big worry. So, but yeah, hopefully they don't afford them that opportunity. It really felt like last night after Bryce's homer, like it felt like that was like what this team really needed because they also haven't had. It's been a while since they've had like a more clean, relaxing game.
Mm-hmm.
Like they pretty much everything has been steeped in like anxiety and tension over the last like week and a half.
Yeah.
So it was kind of nice, like not that I was taking my foot off the pedal and like relaxing, but when you're 7-0 up in like the 8th inning, it's just a much different feeling, rather than 5-5, right? Like and everything's kind of on a knife's edge, and I think it allows people to maybe relax a little bit, like gather themselves, and but you got to take your shot while you can because you have a great opportunity tonight to go 3-1 up, and from there you just have to win 1 out of 3, which I can't believe about. Like that's just great. I mean, I don't know. It's a crazy feeling to be here in this position now.
Last night as well, according to the Penn State University Brandywine seismograph station, Bryce Harper and Alec Boehm's home runs registered basically on the Richter scale. To dumb it down for everybody, the city was physically shaking.
I'm not surprised. Unreal.
There was a video somebody posted last night, too, that they lived about a little over half a mile away from Citizens Bank Park, and you could hear everybody singing Dancing on My Own, which has also led to Garrett Stubbs getting a custom-made jacket for Game 5, tailored on the inside, with the lyrics to Dancing on My Own on the inside of the suit.
You love it.
It's insane.
You've heard of the rally animal. Now get ready for the rally song.
We are the animals.
The rally remix.
Jamie Hoskins going out and buying beers for everybody.
Great move. Love to see it.
Shout out to Mark Kramer, the homie, going on like a media tour for posting a photo of it last night. Also, shout out to the Houston Astros social media team. 2 tweets during the game last night. 2 tweets.
To be fair, I mean,
and
much.
This was the one pregame that killed me.
Yeah, it's tough.
Said silence the noise.
Well, you got to hear the trash cans. That's why they got it.
And then
that's why they're so quiet at home. The fans we got to got to keep it quiet for the boys. That's why they have the roof on too. Yeah. It echoes much better when you can hear the trash cans that way.
Who would have thought Mattress Mac would turn on Philadelphia so quickly?
Yikes. Kind of feel bad for the guy. Kind of feel bad for the guy.
Well, did you see his reasoning? He did an interview today, and the reasoning was that people were coming after the integrity and character of the Houston Astros players.
Okay, well that's ridiculous. I thought someone was being rude to him.
Someone
personally.
said lift the jersey.
He did something really generous, right? Didn't he donate a bunch of stuff to
I
Philly?
think so.
First responders.
I think he has $15 million bet.
Yeah, he has that, and he's whatever. I don't whatever. But don't be. Listen.
Apparently, people went up to him and said, "Lift the jersey up to reveal the buzzer."
That's
and then
funny. That's
Jose
harmless.
Altuve will never get into the Hall of Fame because he's a cheater, and then that's what set him off. And then this morning, goes and runs the Rocky Steps. When will they ever learn? Apparently, there was somebody else who put a Astro sticker on Rocky's shorts.
I saw that, and that was before a game throw. I was like, these motherfuckers
They'll never
watch
learn.
the NFC Championship game. And, this is just... It doesn't work. There's something... You were I don't want to call it sacred, hallowed ground, but, you're tempting fate, I think, when you do that. Don't do the art museum steps. Don't do the skull chant. Don't do face one of our icons. It's better if you don't. I know Houston doesn't have any thing of culture to offer. They don't have anything like that, so I get it. But Also, I thought people were like being like much more mean. That's like, to me, like that's normal, harmless shit. To get that upset over that, it's like, you gotta like relax. I get that it's after the game, you just lost, like, you know, you flew all the way to Philly for a game, but like, come on, you're like 80. You should. Well, actually, who am I kidding? You should. I'm not surprised.
I just thought it was hilarious.
Emotional
to hear
maturity.
Him cursing like that with his Texan slant, like twang in his voice. Fuck you, asshole. Also, according to Ben Silver on Twitter, on WIP, Cole Hamels implicated that it'll be Brad Lidge and Carlos Ruiz throwing out and catching the first pitch at Game 5 tomorrow.
In the Powder Blues.
Allegedly. That news surfaced this morning. Apparently, according to Dave Uram, he followed that up saying that it is in play. It's a possibility. It's not locked in.
If they don't, I swear on my life.
I will say this. I think it would be really, really cool. But Brian Seltzer, formerly working with the Sixers, now works at WPHT, I believe, doing a bunch of radio and podcasts in Philly. He made a good point, and I think it kind of goes back to like everybody who like champions the Kelly Greens for the Eagles. He said, if it's a clinching game tomorrow, which we all hope it is, they shouldn't wear the powder blues because those are like nostalgia. That's history. The red pinstripes are the now. The photos live forever. Like, this is like the current iteration of the Phillies organization. And when I read that, I was like, that's a great point, and I kind of agree with it. Even though it would be sweet to see the powder blues.
But, like, has he considered that they look nice? I feel like that's what's missing from this conversation, is that they look cool, and it would be cool. I don't really care either way, personally, but just the idea of it would be, I mean, I don't know. Like, I totally get the reasoning there, but I personally, I'd like to see them in the powder blues tomorrow.
Also, did you see the heckling
at the bullpen heckling
of Lance McCullers?
I did, and it clearly worked.
Just fantastic.
Chirping McCullers before Game 3.
I heard you get terrible swamp ass before every start. McCullers, Hoskins got with your girlfriend in high school twice. That's it. That is getting smoked by. How much sticky stuff's in that hair? I know there's something in that lettuce! Don't even get me started on you! Valdez, what's in your glove? What the hell's in your glove? Show me the off-speed! My grandma could've rocked that shit! McCullers, you need to figure it out! I haven't seen a strike yet! Phillies money line!
He was right.
Fantastic.
Is free tonight!
I think he heard him. I think and you know what? I'll say this. Respectful heckling.
Yes.
Funny.
Harmless.
Nothing crazy. There you go. Look at that. Philly. Weird.
Also, apparently, they showed Santa Claus on the big screen last night. Everybody cheered.
When are we ever going to, like, So I saw an article that someone wrote about how we need to forgive and, like, move on from the Astros cheating.
Yeah, it was John Heyman.
Yeah. I couldn't remember exactly who wrote it. But then brought up in that same article Philly fans booing Santa Claus. It's like, brother, that literally happened like 5 generations ago. Like, I don't know. That was 60 years ago. Like, people didn't have color TVs regularly in their households. Like, it was forever ago. So I'm glad that's still alive and living, and glad we still have to live with that. It's fantastic.
Absolutely incredible.
And maybe Santa Claus deserved it. Have we ever considered that?
Right.
Maybe Santa Claus deserved it.
Well, there are those signs out there that a few people have tweeted. I did see Kate Scott got her hands on a few of them. I want to read them verbatim here. Here it is. So on one side, it's from visitphilly.com. It says, "Go Union, go Phillies, go Eagles, go Sixers, go Flyers." And then on the other side, it says, "In Philadelphia, we believe cheese and steak go together like pretzels and mustard. Honesty is the best policy. Santa deserved it. Our passion is fueled by love, parentheses, and grit. That we don't have an accent. You have an accent. Our time is now."
Gonna have to agree with that. It has been tell you what, it's been a really fun month.
It's been quite the bender.
Yeah, and I mean, also what's bizarre too is we're getting like beautiful weather for like early November baseball, which is just obscene. Like, it's like we're having like the nicest weather possible.
Game 4 on the horizon, and obviously the weather delay now coincides with the Phillies and Eagles playing on the same exact day. And the amount of people out there crying, complaining that both games are happening at the same time.
How is this even an option? I have to ask.
Right. Like, if you have one TV and, whatever, how are you picking a regular season game where the Eagles just announced today that they know nobody's watching because they're wearing their preseason all-white uniforms against a one-win Houston Texans team, or a potential Game 5 World Series clinching game that the Phillies are in a season where nobody thought this was going to happen?
It is going to be, at best, a potential World Series clinching game. At worst, a crucial Game 5 to take the lead, potentially, into Houston. I'm sorry, but how is that even a discussion? Like, there's no...
It's crazy.
I'm sorry, but, like, tomorrow's Eagles game is, like, frankly meaningless.
Yes.
Like, it's, in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't...
The only,
does not matter.
Hint of it mattering is it would be when the Eagles win, because the Texans are a disgrace. It'll be the first time in franchise history that they are 8-0 as a team. That's the only thing on the table for the Eagles. Outside of that, who gives a flying fuck?
I can't believe that it's even a discussion. But like, well, which game do I watch? The one that's in the World Series. The one
that matters.
The one that's the last home game for another 3.5 months. That one.
Good
Pick that
grief.
one. It's
like, if you have
unreal.
a computer, the Eagles game is on Prime Video.
Yeah.
It's on Twitch.
We all know you got 2 screens at minimum.
Pull up with your 2 screens, put the Phillies on the big one, and call it a night.
Yeah.
But now, I think it works out better, too, because, say Thursday is the clincher, I would have to assume parade day is Saturday.
I don't even want to get. I can't put myself there emotionally. We're only up 2-1. Cannot put myself there emotionally. I'm not even ready for that discussion.
But I did tell a bunch of people today that if it does happen and somehow it is like next week, I'm not going to work.
I'm not going.
What are they going to do? Fire me? Thanks.
Was that the Phils? Parade? What are you gonna do? Yeah. So tonight's the big one tonight, and I
think tonight's the most important game of the series.
And I mean, it's Aaron Nola's had big games over the last month.
He's gone good start, bad start, good start, bad start.
Yeah, well, I mean, even go back to the Padres series. His last start there was not spectacular. He got shelled early. I didn't think he didn't look terrible to me in Houston in Game 1, but you go back to the start in Houston in early October that got the Phillies in the playoffs. He looked great, and that was, to that point, his biggest moment of his career. Was essentially, in some sense at least, like a game with a lot of stakes, more stakes than he'd ever played with. And then, in that wild card series too, goes out there and pitches amazing. So he's stepped up to the plate. Him and Wheeler both. My only concern is that both of them have looked in their last 2 starts. You can definitely tell there's some fatigue there. Mm-hmm. And I mean, we've been riding these guys a lot. I think I've forgotten too that Wheeler got shut down for part of the season because some elbow soreness, because of some fatigue, a knee issue too. These guys are not at their absolute best. Both of them, Wheeler coming off of heavy innings last season, and gets obviously a little more managed this year with his time. But Nola, a lot of innings pitched. These guys are kind of. I think it's good that this is, for both of them, going to be their last start, because I maybe if there's an emergency Game 7 moment, you could maybe see.
I definitely think if, hopefully it doesn't get to that point, but if it does, I think we do see Nola out of the bullpen.
You could see Nola for
2 innings.
2 innings. You can face 6 batters, maybe, you could definitely see something like that. But I think that also helps too, because it's you have nothing, this is it. You have final stretch. This is it. Yeah, exactly. You don't have to really. You don't have to conserve anything.
Yeah.
Especially Wheeler. Whatever we get out of him, that's likely it. So that's, I guess, a positive. But yeah, those guys. I mean, I think it would be very poetic. Again, if those are the 2 that kind of close it out here, because really, so much of the postseason success has really been about them. Obviously, the hitting and Bryce getting hot, and I don't even know how much we've even talked about him yet in like just the historic postseason that he's having. One of the, I mean, truly, like not even exaggerating, one of the best postseason runs we've ever seen from a player. Like it's just what he's doing is not normal in any sense of the word. But Wheeler and Nola too have just been great. Like all through these playoffs and have gotten us out of some tough spots. So guys have been stepping up. It's been a joy to watch. Part of me never wants it to end. Like I love just like having this like this drama unfold, but part of me is also like I found myself really like getting itchy in between innings, and like when especially when the Astros are back up to bat, you're just like praying the time to fast forward. But it's everything we wanted. Having like the playoffs back, like being in the World Series is not something I particularly expected, but the anxiety and the like sleeplessness of
It's one of the best drugs on the earth.
I mean, it's just unreal. Just keeping me going.
Foolish Baseball tweeted this, and obviously you got to take it with a grain of salt because of the format and everything. It hasn't been around that long, but they said Bryce Harper is the first player in MLB history to homer in the wild card, division, championship, and World Series in one postseason. And they said, I like how I say MLB history as if this had been possible for 150 seasons instead of 10. But still, first player to do it. So
so Harper's home run in Game 3 was his 6th of the postseason, his 4th go-ahead homer this postseason. Only Albert Pujols has hit more go-ahead homers in a single postseason. He had 5 in 2004.
Yeah, probably because of that bat.
Yeah, probably because of that bat. Yeah, I'm sure it's just player safety. I'm sure that's...
And apparently, I did see a clip here, so I'll...
It's not on the internet, so it's true.
The Dodgers in September of last season tweeted a video of Max Muncy hitting a home run with Albert Pujols' bat during the regular season. Now, granted, it's the regular season, so whatever. But that leads me to being like, I find it very different than, the hockey implemented rule where it's like everyone has the visors now. Or, with the PLL, this season started, any new player in the league has to wear chest pads. Everyone else, if you didn't wear it before, you're grandfathered in. A bat is like such a totally different thing.
It's a tool. It's not like equipment. It's a tool that you're using that can give you...
To produce.
Yes, like it is...
It's not a protection thing. It's not a player safety item. It is literally your weapon of choice to go out there and earn the most money you can by hitting the ball.
Yeah.
There should be no grandfathered in bats, in my opinion.
The grandfathered in stuff is stupid. Like I guess you can make the exception for Pujols, whatever. Like, but also why does he get an exception?
Right.
And no one, like, come on, like, just because he's like a great player, like that just seems kind of dumb. But I'm glad that's over. I'm glad we're not Zapruder filming Valdez's hand anymore.
I'm still sus on it.
It's weird, but like ultimately, these guys are checked every inning,
right.
And Rob Thompson was like, "Eh."
I feel like he was cheating? Who knows? I think my biggest thing is like advice to you, Fromber. You play for a team that is scrutinized and under the microscope for cheating. Maybe do a little bit less of the twitching.
I think also like, and what's deeply ironic about this is ultimately the Astros really didn't get punished for 2017. Nope. And I don't care what they say about how other teams did it and whatever, because you won a championship by, at best, bending the rules. If not, let's be frank, outright cheating. You were cheating. Mm-hmm. Whatever. Personally, I care, but I also like don't care that much. But what makes me care more is when Astros fans pretend like it's no big deal. Because it is a big deal. Let's be frank. Like, come on. Like, don't be fucking chud here. Like, don't be like willfully stupid. But part of the punishment, and I think was even in like the commissioner's ruling, whatever, is that, the stain is going to be forever. Like, yeah, I'm sorry, but like, this is what you're just going to have to live with forever. Mm-hmm. Is like every small thing that would normally be no big deal for any other team is going to be magnified to like a higher degree because you're the Astros. Like, I'm sorry, you're banging trash cans to steal signals. Like, you're losers. Like, you're cheaters. I don't know how to make that any more clear for you. And I'm sorry it upsets you so much.
100%. And not that we want to look ahead too much because we are still very much in World Series mode, but some interesting news came down the pipeline this week too, Matt, via Gaijin Baseball on Twitter, who's a NPB history YouTuber, covers the Japanese league. Oryx Buffalo star Masataka Yoshida has stated that he wants to be posted, which is basically like the Japanese league's version for people at home, like so that they can come play in Major League Baseball. And according to reports, his preference of team is likely the Phillies. Yoshida has a career .421 on-base percentages coming off his first 1,000 OPS season and put up a .201 WRC+. And biggest reason is his idol is Bryce Harper. He originally wore number 34 because of Bryce. There's a photo on his Instagram with him and his dog, I believe, in Harper jerseys for congratulating him on his season.
I think what I love most
He's 29
about the
years old
picture
as well.
is that it looks like a child's birthday party.
Yes.
But it's like clearly for him. Like,
It's fantastic.
but it's wonderful.
He's
Sign him
29
up.
years old.
I've seen enough.
He's been the face of the franchise for the Oryx Buffalo since 2016.
Sign him up.
He walked off the Japan series last year in Game 5 with a home run that was like Kyle Schwarber, second deck-esque. I don't know about you, but the thing that gets me excited here, and not just because it's the Phillies, but just baseball in general, is it's so rare that the Japanese players want to come play on the East Coast.
Yeah.
You never really see. I think the two that stand out are
Daisuke
Daisuke and Tanaka.
Yeah.
Like
And-
those are the two, and they go to the Red Sox and the Yankees, who are
Right.
like pop culture, iconic franchises. Everyone else, it seems like it's Seattle, LA, either the Angels or the Dodgers, and we had Yu Darvish go to the Rangers when he first came over. But obviously, that's proximity to Japan. The West Coast is closer to home and everything for them. But
I
it's
think
so
too, like,
rare.
There's even like cultural
Yeah.
communities there that like probably
Seiya Suzuki this year went to the Cubs.
Right.
So, like, it's just so rare that you see a Japanese player who is posted and then says, hey, I want to go to the East Coast.
be pretty sick. Be
Pretty
cool
sweet.
Be pretty cool if you did. So
He's 29 years old, so he's, like, right in his prime. And,
I'm just staring down the clock.
yeah, I'm excited about that as well. So we'll see how that unfolds once the off season is here. But right now it's World Series Game 4 mode, and we are 17 minutes away from first pitch. And on top of that, not only do we have an undefeated football team, not only do we have a World Series baseball team, but brought to you by our pals over at Bino. You guys can go to binoboard.com. That's BINHOBOARD.com. And use code BINOUSP for 10% off your order, Matt. They got the Liverpool board dropping this Friday with the custom carrying case for that board. Looks very, very nice. So go grab your Bino boards. Get ready for the World Cup. Get ready for the MLS Cup, because our Philadelphia Union are headed to the MLS Cup for the very first time in franchise history, facing off against LAFC. Big 3-1 win over NYCFC at home. They tie an MLS record for most consecutive home wins in a season, and they're playing for a championship. Two teams at the same time.
Two teams at the same time. Joint parades? Question mark.
We saw that with Colorado, the Colorado Avalanche, and then the Colorado Mammoth in the NLL this past summer. They had a joint parade, so...
The Union's going to LA to contend for the MLS Cup. It's scary. Typically too, the home team in these situations has won a lot of the circumstances. Funnily enough, last year was one of the few years that didn't happen. New York City went to Portland and won there on penalties. Not much to separate LA and Philly over the course of the season, like in their own right, and then played to a 2-2 draw earlier in the year. And then I think the game that people probably remember the most is one of the big, very pre-COVID games, that 3-3 draw in LA. That was in like March of 2020. That was the Glesnes like power bomb from like 35 yards out game. So not much to separate the two. Both teams, I don't want to say cruise because the Philly went, I almost said the Phillies. The Union went 1-0 down to New York City and had to claw back, but eventually win 3-1. They sort of really get the momentum on their side. And LA, it wasn't a casual win over Austin, but again, they win 3-0. And first time since 2003 that both top seeds from either conference are going to be making it to the MLS Cup at the same time. So that's, and I mean it's I think only right because these two have been in a tier of their own all season, and I think it's cool that you're actually seeing. It's not very often that you really get think of just a sports in general. It's very rare that not only do the two number one seeds make it, but two very clear number one seeds who have been above the rest for most of the season in terms of quality. So for just general interest in neutrality, I think that's cool. Union have a good chance. I mean, they've played well so far in these playoffs. They've a Fedder's chance for sure. It's just going to be hard going to LA, being in that situation, that stadium. It's not going to be easy, but both teams too. It's their first MLS Cup, So neither club is some steel veteran on their side necessarily in this situation. So it's sort of a even playing ground in some ways.
100%. And I wanted to get your take on this because I think I talked about it on Monday's episode that came out. It feels weird to me that, it's different for, the World Series or the NBA Finals or the NHL, with the Stanley Cup, where it's a series, you're going back and forth to the different home stadiums and everything. I found it weird when I realized that the MLS Cup is at one of the participating teams' home stadiums.
Yeah.
Not a fan of that.
Yeah, it's a little weird because in other leagues, in Europe, there's typically a big national stadium that a final like this would be held. So for England, that would be Wembley, and that's where just England will play there, right? And that's where all the big even the cup semifinals of the FA Cup will be played there. Then the cup final is there, and it's a big central, well, not London isn't particularly central, right? But it's kind of the cultural center, whatever you want to say, even though that's not maybe necessarily true. But the U.S. doesn't really have that in part because of its size, but also, it's hard because it's a one game, and I think it would be cool maybe if you did it like this Super Bowl and it rotates to a different place every year. That might be cool, but I also do think in some ways, it's good because you get a true advantage for people. We talked about this all with baseball, right? And it is a true advantage. If you're the best team in the regular season, you will play at home every game that you play in that postseason, and that's worth it. That's worth maybe pushing yourself a little harder in July to get those extra results, those extra wins, knowing that if you make it to the final and you're the top overall seed, it's a big advantage for sure, and maybe slightly unfair to the team that's also, it's just the tiebreaker rule isn't amazing in MLS in my opinion, but it is what it is. I think in some ways I like it though, because again, it does reward you being the top team, and when you're only playing one game, it does suck because you're really just getting that one shot at it. But I think I'm not sure that there's necessarily a better solution outside of just having it rotate to new stadiums, because I don't know what other there's no big stadium you could go to, because it's also being played when every NFL stadium, every big college football stadium is also
because my thought was
going.
The teams that do have their own stadium similar to the Union and some of these other teams, if they're not playing, you can go and utilize those. You are your own league and everything, so utilize those facilities and kind of create a, like you said, a Super Bowl type environment, and bring both fan bases together, and that way it's a neutral site and you get the fans out and it's still an electric environment. I just found it weird that one team gets to compete at their home stadium in a championship game.
I think it's frustrating me on the other end of it. I think it'd be very cool if
absolutely if it was at the Union Stadium.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
It is. I think ultimately it's a way of keeping that regular season to really matter, especially with that race and Again, it's just frustrating because you really could have had it could be in Philly if some things just went a little differently for them. But even still, I think they have a good chance at winning this.
100%. And that brings us to Buffs and Snuff Survivor 43, brought to you by the homies over at Kenwood Beer. You guys can go to kenwoodbeer.com, use the all-new and improved Kenny tracker to see who's got Kenwood Beer on tap in the Philadelphia area. Crack open an ice-cold Kenny when you're watching Survivor all season long. You got to be 21 or older to do so. And, of course, please drink responsibly. Matt, we get to the merge. A very interesting twist on the merge. Quite an episode last week, to say the least. And we can feel confident, though, because James moves on to the merge for our podcast pick. Going home was Ellie. Quite an interesting tribal council, I would say. But we're at the merge now, heading into episode 7.
Yeah, I'd like to stand by my Ryan not winning this season, unfortunately. Just seemed completely out of every conversation, which was tough. Still, though, showed some loyalty at least. I was a little worried about our boy James for most of this episode. Felt like he could find his way. Ellie ultimately, of course, like you said, is voted off. But yeah, I like the format too of again splitting the teams and having one team. I'm glad we didn't do did not revisit the hourglass twist.
Mm-hmm.
That was really the only twist I think they introduced in the last 2 seasons that I really actively disliked. Everything else has been meh, but that was the one that was like, this sucks. I'm glad they got rid of it because it frankly, I did not find, there was no strategy to the decision, but we've talked enough about it.
Yeah.
I'm glad they didn't bring it back, and I like the way this turned out. Shout out to Gabler, just absolutely throwing down the gauntlet. Everyone else is picking who. I thought it was funny. Everyone was essentially just outing who their closest ally was, which I don't know that I'd be doing that. I don't know that I would be saying who I share all my information with. I would just I get it though. And Gabe was just yeah, I want to get rid of Ellie. She sucks. She went through my bag. And I think it was even funnier. She didn't go through his bag. She actually it felt like she was lying, but she actually wasn't. It was Janine that went through it. Yeah, that was
very
quite the move by Gabler. I liked it. You know what?
Yeah.
People don't do that anymore. People don't
assert their dominance.
And people don't have. What did he say? He was yeah, I threw her name out there because that's my way of throwing her name out there. It's I said her name as a way to throw her name out there. It's oh yeah, you did. That's true.
I also loved how Owen went through the menu of advantages and idols and everything for us.
Yeah, thanks, Owen. I needed.
Thank you.
It's good to have that little
smorgasbord
of what's going on here.
But yeah, heading into this next episode, I have no idea what to expect because now we're at the merge and it still feels like a lot of people are trying to figure out who they're going to actually align with. You do have little small pockets here and there. But just like this whole season has been, it's been tough to read how week to week it's going to go.
Yeah. It's hard to even pick people that you really, because it feels a little more nebulous. Now that Ellie's gone, I think that was kind of the big clash between her and Gabler, some personality clash too. But yeah, I mean now you wonder if Coco is kind of stick strong together. It certainly seemed that way. And I mean we've seen that in the last 2 seasons. We've seen one of these tribes sort of band together and make it very far together, at least as a core 3 or 4. So I wouldn't be shocked to see that, still Carla and James seem to have, a strong connection, a strong bond and work well together. So I'm curious to see how that develops, through this merge now. And man, there's 5 people I think that could win. Mm-hmm. And I really wouldn't be shocked at any of them. I think Cody, I think James, I think Carla could win. I think Cassidy could be a sneaky win here. maybe even Janine. I think Janine's path is maybe hard now, but
she has an advantage.
She has an advantage. Like I wouldn't be shocked. Like at this point, I wouldn't be shocked if anyone wins because the last few seasons, like I hadn't seen Erica coming, I hadn't seen Marianne coming, so it's like, man, like maybe I just don't know at all. Maybe it's Dwight, and I'm overlooking Dwight. Who knows?
It has been wild. So make sure you guys follow at Buffs and Snuffs on Twitter. Follow us on Twitter at UndergroundPHI. We got that big giveaway going right now. Matt, almost 200 new followers due to the giveaway. So make sure you follow us at UndergroundPHI, Twitter and Instagram. We'll be live tweeting the World Series, live tweeting Eagles Texans on Thursday as well. And it's going to be one hell of a ride. And I do have to say, Matt, at least we're not the Brooklyn Nets.
Talk about a wild 24 hours, huh?
Man, oh man!
It's like playing. I don't even know what to say. I don't even know what to say about that situation.
We'll save them for next week.
It's like
somebody else gets
it's
traded.
Like playing
and
controversy bingo. Like.
Follow Matt on Twitter at Matt Castorina. Follow me at KBIZZL311. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast feed on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Just search Underground Sports Philadelphia. It'll pop up for you. It really helps the show continue to grow, helps more people join us underground, which is exactly what we want. And, of course, subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/@Underground Sports Philadelphia. It'll bring you right to the channel. We are now at 285 subscribers. Once we get to 1,000, big things are going to pop off on all of our shows on the network. Smash that like button, ring the bell icon, comment down below your thoughts on the Phils, the Eagles, the Sixers, Flyers, Union, Survivor, whatever it may be. Leave it in the comment section on YouTube. Shout out to our sponsors who make this show happen. Main Auto LLC, Security 21 Security Systems, Paul J. Gillespie Incorporated, the Dental Wellness Center of Vineland, Tomahawk Shades Pickup, Kenwood Beer, and Bino Board. All of their info is linked in the show notes on audio and in the description on YouTube. And, of course, our merch partners at PHI Apparel Company. Go to phiapparel.co/shop and use code UNDERGROUND at checkout for 10% off your merch orders. All of our podcast merch is coming very, very soon, so stay tuned for that. And this has been another Red October/November edition, episode number 478 of Underground Sports Philadelphia. For Matt, I'm KB. Let's go Phils, and we'll see you guys next time. But until then, we are signing off. Peace.